Safety, growth, liquidity. Pick any two. How much risk can you take on? When do I want to be paying tax on money I'm using? What are some good reasons that I might want to need a will in my estate plan? And what is it from a tax standpoint? Why would it be good maybe to wait on taking Social Security? Folks, in today's show, we're going to answer all those questions, so stay tuned.
Retiring Well, brought to you by Centennial Wealth Advisory, financial advisors specializing in retirement planning and serving all of Northern Michigan. Retiring Well, helping you plan for a successful and comfortable retirement. Retiring Well, plan to retire well.
Do you ever remember seeing that sign in the store, said price, quality, service, pick any two? Listen, when you're ready to make a purchase, if you pay a very low price, aren't you probably giving up quality or service in one way, shape, form, or another? Think about it. Well, in the investment world, we have the same thing. It's called safety, growth, liquidity. Now, there are a lot of financial instruments out there. I challenge you to put this to the test, but if you look at most financial instruments, you're going to predominantly get two of the three in one way, shape, or another. So let's just run some examples. Let's say you have a savings account. It's at the bank. Maybe it's FDIC insured. All right. What do I have? I have a financial instrument that's safe, right? It's with the bank, FDIC insured, right? It's fully liquid because I can take it out anytime. But what am I giving up? Growth. I'm not going to get a whole lot for it right now in this day and age, right? Take a typical brokerage account with stocks, bonds, mutual funds. Right? Now, these are financial instruments that can go way up in value, all right, if they do well, but they can also go down in value, okay, depending on what the security is. So I have a situation where they're liquid. I can trade them anytime, get out of them. I got great growth potential because they can do really well in any given year. But what don't I have? I don't possibly have safety. Okay. Again, it depends on what financial instruments they are, but you're probably getting growth, you got liquidity, but no safety. Now take a fixed index annuity. Now this is an insurance product, okay? It's fixed in the sense that it can't go down in value. So it has safety, it has growth potential because the income is tied to some index, so that's good. But the downside is with most annuities, there's a time frame in which they want you to stay with that program. So I have to give up liquidity, okay? But now why is this important for you to understand or know? Well, why it's important is because you have to understand which of the two are going to be predominantly most important to you. If it's safety is most important to you, if liquidity is most important to you, if those are the two you want, then you're going to have to make sure that your financial instruments that you're in match that. Okay? If you're somebody that wants great growth potential and don't care about the safety, but you want liquidity, then the kind of financial instruments you're going to choose are going to be much different. If you're somebody that really wants to know how you're positioned, how your portfolio is, then I encourage you to give us a call because we're going to first want to understand what two are important to you and then make sure that what you have matches that. So give us a call.
Today's retirement challenges can be mastered. Knowledge is power because you can confidently plan ahead and make educated financial decisions for a successful and comfortable retirement. We are Centennial Wealth Advisory, financial advisors specializing in retirement planning, serving all of Northern Michigan with offices in Traverse City, Cadillac, Petoskey, and Gaylord. And we invite you to an informative and exciting live event with a complimentary gourmet dinner. You'll learn highlights of the new Tax Reform Act, how an IRA gets taxed to a surviving spouse, how two similar portfolios can end up with two drastically different results, what a bull market is and how long it can last, and much more. Call 888-608-5825 to register Tuesday, November 5th at the Blue Pelican Inn and Restaurant in Central Lake. The live event starts at 6 p.m. and is free to attend with a complimentary gourmet dinner to follow, but seating is limited and fills quickly. Call 888-608-5825 to reserve your seats today. There is no cost and no obligation. Don't miss this important live event. Educated financial decisions. Call 888 888-608-5825 today.
Hi, welcome back. Now listen, in this segment, I want to talk to you about risk. Most importantly, how much risk can you take on? Now I just want to emphasize can, C-A-N. C stands for your capacity to take risk on. Okay, now this is where most of us advisors go initially. All right, we want to have some test by which we can determine how much risk we believe you can take on. Some like to use the rule of 100. You know, where they take 100 minus your age, and that shows how much risk you should be on. Okay, so if I'm 65 years old, maybe I at that point should only have 35% of my portfolio at risk. Okay, we might look at your net worth. The idea that the more you have, the more you can lose. Okay, there's all these things that we look at in determining your capacity to take on risk. But what is also important is, again, going back to that CAN, is A, your attitude towards risk. This would be your personal feelings. Now, you know, this is vitally important because I, as an advisor, might determine your risk to be one thing, but your personal feelings might be completely different. You know, what if I am that person that says the more you have, the more you can lose, and I determine you should be able to have much at risk, but you're somebody that's saved for quite some time and you don't want to risk or lose anything. Well, wouldn't I need to know that? So your attitude about risk is very, very important. Now, another place we might go, going back again to that CAN, is N, your need to take on risk. All right, now this kind of comes together when we do income planning. Okay, we're trying to take your assets, how much you want for income. We look for guaranteed sources of income, like maybe Social Security or pension, and then we determine by how much you're going to have to pull out from that portfolio to make up that difference. Okay, well, when we have to put that together in an income plan, what we're really doing is trying to see, will your assets outlive you? Because the last thing you want to do is run out of money before you pass away, right? And it would be nice if you could leave some behind. Now, what if we do that income planning and your need to take on risk is, let's say we have a growth rate of maybe only 3%, and we find that that portfolio or that money is going to outlive you. Well, then we need to ask the next question. If all we need is 3% growth, why are we taking on more risk than we need to? Very, very important. Now, all these factors are going to be important in determining risk, but I would dare say your personal feelings would have to be the most important. So if you're somebody that wants to make sure you're set up appropriately, that your risk and how you feel about it is set up appropriately with your investments, then I encourage you to give us a call.
That was really great stuff, Larry. Thanks for that, because I really appreciate what you're talking about with attitude, because not everybody is the same, right? And you know, I recently just bought a brand new car, and I went to the dealership, I talked to the dealership, and they're wanting to put me in these great big sedans. Well, I'm a single person. I don't need a great big sedan like a family of 5, a family of 6 might need. My needs are different. All I needed was a little, you know, 2 to 4 door, just a little tiny car that has good gas mileage. I like the things I like. And for me, it's different because my situation is different. So I really appreciated that piece on attitude.
That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah, and, you know, it's interesting, Dawn, you know, here, you know, in the retirement, when we start doing retirement planning and start looking at that sort of stuff, I'm always amazed of how many people that come in that have never thought about what their needs are in retirement. You know, they've saved well along, maybe they have Social Security, maybe they even have a pension, but they've never thought about, what do I really need my savings to do for me? And what do I need it to do? Oftentimes people are just, you know, thought and taught to keep growing that. But what do you need it to do? What if we ran all the numbers, looked out, and over the next 30, 40 years of retirement, if you made 3-4%, your plan would work well and there'd still be money left at the end of the day. Wouldn't you like to know that so you can plan and invest accordingly? You know, it always amazed me. I just had this situation the other day. I sat down with a great couple, and we learned that they only needed to make 3%, and their money would far outlive them. But yet they thought they had to take all this great risk because they needed a certain return to try to meet those goals that they had to live a meaningful and successful retirement in their eyes.
Right. And isn't that funny you mentioned that, Art? I mean, isn't that something that everybody wants to know as they're getting close to retirement? Is my money going to last long enough, right? And doing that income planning is so very, very important. So I encourage you, if you're somebody that's getting close to retirement or maybe even still in retirement and you want to know what your plan looks like, then give us a call.
Are you retired or approaching retirement in the next 5 to 10 years? Join the Centennial Wealth Advisory team for an exciting presentation with complimentary gourmet dinner and learn essential financial strategies for a comfortable retirement. Call 888-608-5825 to reserve your seats today. There is no cost and no obligation. Call 888-608-5825.
Hi, welcome back. Listen, in this segment, I want to ask you a question. When do you want to be paying tax on money? Think about it. You want to be paying tax on money when you're using it. Would that not be true? Folks, we often find people come in and we're looking at their tax situation, and we'll find that in many, many cases, people are paying taxes on money when they're not even using it yet. Now, you might ask, Larry, how can that happen? Well, let me just give you a scenario. Let's say somebody comes in and they've got pension income, and now they've got Social Security income on top of that, all right? And that, for the most part, is meeting their income needs. But then they got this other account out there. It's what we call a non-qualified account. It means just non-retirement money sitting there that's producing interest, dividends, maybe capital gains. Now, it's money that they don't need today, okay? But it's money they're having to pay tax on because it's a non-qualified account, right? So they're having to pay tax on it today when they're not even using it. This is just a great example of why tax planning is so vitally important. Because, you know, when you're trying to take income, all right, first of all, you're going to have to ask yourself, what accounts am I going to take that income from? Let's say you're a person that has IRA money, you have Roth IRA money you build up, and then again you have that non-qualified money. And you're trying to see what is the best bucket to pull that money from as you're taking income in retirement. Well, for tax planning, it's going to be very important to go in there and look at that scenario and see which one makes sense. If you're fortunate enough to be somebody that has money in every one of those buckets, it's going to make tax planning very easy for us, because then we can control the taxation. You know, we might not only pull out enough out of the IRA money because we might want to stay in the lower tax bracket, right? Or maybe we're in the higher tax bracket, so maybe we want to take a little, you know, lower down the IRA money and pull a little bit more out of the non-qualified bucket. You know, tax planning is going to be huge in this regard. It's very important as well, because when you're looking at your Roth IRA money and then you've got the IRA money, maybe if we have some room in that lower tax bracket, we can be moving some money from one bucket into another bucket. In this example, money from my IRA bucket into my Roth IRA bucket. So if you're somebody that's, you know, near retirement or in retirement and you don't have a tax plan, you're trying to figure out how this all works for you, then I encourage you to give us a call. We'd be glad to sit down and look at your scenario and see what is a good fit for you. You've never been to a seminar like this before. This event is all about you, the challenges you face, the questions you have, the information you need to help build the future that you want. There's no pressure to become a client. Our goal is simple, to give you valuable information that you can use to make smarter financial decisions. You may be skeptical, and we understand why, but we hope that by the time you leave this event, you'll leave one step closer to your retirement goals. Hi, welcome back. Listen, in this segment, I want to talk to you about the reasons you might need a will. Okay? Now, this is just one of those documents they'll do when an attorney is doing an estate plan for you. Now, I am not an attorney myself, but I'm just going to give you some reasons that I've heard that they'll say that you need one for. First of all, a good estate plan is when all your assets know where to go. Okay? Now, a lot of times you can set that with a beneficiary designation. But if an asset doesn't know where to go, then it's going to have to go through probate. And a will becomes the instruction manual for probate in deciding where that asset's going to go. So if you had an asset that didn't have a beneficiary designation on it, and it's in the will that it goes to a certain person, and then it goes through probate, that's where it's going to go, exactly where you want it to go. That would be one reason to have a will. Now, you may think you're doing a good job setting all the designations or beneficiary designations in all your assets, but what if you add something later on and you miss it and you forget to put that on there, or somehow it gets lost? We've seen this happen with 401k plans. You know, they were with one custodian, they set the beneficiary designation, that plan changed custodians, and then somehow the beneficiary information got lost, which is, happens quite often. Well, in that particular case, a will would catch that because it would go through probate and then know where to go. All right, another reason you might need a will is, what if you have a family, you still have kids at home, and you want to set who's going to be the caretaker for your kids, for your minor children? Well, you can put that in the will. Now, another good reason to have a will is designating who you want to be the representative of your estate. All right, you're going to want to set that. You're going to probably want to be the one that decides who's going to do that. Now, I've just given you some good reasons to have a will. Again, this is something when we're sitting down with the attorneys, we're doing estate planning, this is one they'll always want to put in there, but at least give you some ideas why you might want to have one. So hopefully you found this valuable. If you're somebody that wants some estate planning and wants to know how that fits in your scenario, then give us a call.
You know, Larry, those are two really powerful segments there. You know, those are two things that I think oftentimes go overlooked when people are thinking about that. Investments seem to dominate the conversation when people are talking about retirement planning and investing and, planning and all that sort of stuff. But tax planning and estate planning are two big things that you have to pay attention to. You know, when I think of tax planning, oftentimes folks come into us and they have no tax plan and none at all. They're just looking at a pot of money that they have. Maybe they have some non-qualified money, as Larry talked about here. Maybe they have some IRA, maybe they have some Roth, but how you withdraw that at different times of your life could make a big impact on taxations, either costing you more or maybe the potential to save a little bit every year on your taxes. I think it's critical that in retirement you have a tax plan and it's evaluated every year, and that matches up with your investment plans. Maybe you should be doing Roth conversions. Maybe you should be realizing some of this income to stay in certain tax brackets. All things that I think are vital, because what if you could learn that you could save a little bit. Maybe it's as simple as 1%. Over time, that may add up with some proper tax planning. When we think of estate planning, I think of all the blunders that could happen out there over the time, and what if you miss something? What if you don't do something a specific way? What if laws change a little bit and you're not staying on top of that? But Dawn, you were talking about some family that maybe went through that blunder a little bit, or a story that you had that I think is important.
Yeah, exactly. Just a few years ago, I had an aunt who passed away, and she didn't have any children of her own. So she had it set up in her mind that she wanted myself and my siblings to be the beneficiaries of all of her accounts. Now, some of her accounts she did set up correctly, and she had us listed as the beneficiary, but there was several of her accounts that she just had it in her mind that that's where she wanted it to go, and in fact never put it down on paper. So when time came and she actually passed, the ones that were set up with the correct beneficiary, no problem. The ones that didn't have the beneficiaries listed, that ended up in probate.
And then the will had to take over.
And then the will had to take over,
Gotcha.
exactly.
Yeah.
So it's been a longer process for sure.
Yeah, all the more reason why you want to have a will, just in case, so it goes where you want it to go, right? Folks, that's if you get anything out of this show, you get the fact that planning is very, very important, whether it be estate planning or tax planning. So if you're somebody that hasn't had those conversations, then we'd be glad to talk with you.
Are you retired or approaching retirement in the next 5 to 10 years? Join the Centennial Wealth Advisory team for an exciting presentation with complimentary gourmet dinner and learn essential financial strategies for a comfortable retirement. Call 888-608-5825 to reserve your seats today. There is no cost and no obligation. Call 888-608-5825.
Welcome. In this segment, I want to talk to you about one reason that you might want to wait in taking Social Security. Now, there's a lot of factors that go into determining whether you should take it early or not, but I just want to give you one today that I want to focus on, and that's income taxes. Now, what I have here is I have a married couple. They're both age 62. They've decided to take Social Security early, okay? They're going to take a combined amount of almost $33,000 out. Now, they want $72,000 of income. So they're just going to take an additional $39,000 out of the IRA to make up the difference. Now, Uncle Sam says in this scenario, now it's kind of a complicated formula they go by to determining this, but basically they take half your Social Security, all your other income, and when you hit a couple different thresholds, it'll determine how much of your Social Security becomes taxable income. Now, I'm not going to go into great detail of that right now, but just understand that this couple taking almost $33,000 in Social Security, just about half of it is going to be taxable income. So then they get a standard deduction of $24,000. Their income tax in this particular case, or their taxable income, is $30,000, almost $31,000. Income tax, $3,330. Now, if they'd waited to age 70, okay, their Social Security benefits have grown, almost double what they would have been at age 62. In this particular case, if they waited to age 70, their combined Social Security would be almost $58,000. Now, they still want the same income of $72,000 at that time. So now, though, they only have to take $14,000 out of the IRA to make up the difference. Remember, back here they had $39,000. Now it's only $14,000. In this particular case, now Uncle Sam says out of that all that Social Security, only $5,528 of it is taxable income. Now, in this particular case, I got a little higher standard deduction because now they're older than age 65. But in this scenario, taxable income is zero. Income tax is zero. Now, how much tax do you want to be paying on your IRA money? I would dare say if I can get to the place where I can take money out of my IRA and not have to pay any tax at all, then that was a great scenario. Because remember, when I was putting money into those accounts, I was getting a tax deduction. Now, if I take out of those accounts and I'm not paying any tax, what could be better than that? Folks, again, there's a lot of different reasons why you might want to wait to take Social Security. This, again, was just one from an income tax standpoint, but very vitally important to understand.
Today's retirement challenges can be mastered. Knowledge is power because you can confidently plan ahead and make educated financial decisions for a successful and comfortable retirement. We are Centennial Wealth Advisory, financial advisors, specializing in retirement planning, serving all of northern Michigan with offices in Traverse City, Cadillac, Petoskey, and Gaylord. And we invite you to an informative and exciting live event with a complimentary gourmet dinner. You'll learn highlights of the new Tax Reform Act, how an IRA gets taxed to a surviving spouse, how two similar portfolios can end up with two drastically different results, what a bull market is and how long it can last, and much more. Call 888-608-5825 to register Tuesday, November 5th at the Blue Pelican Inn and Restaurant in Central Lake. The live event starts at 6 p.m. and is free to attend with a complimentary gourmet dinner to follow, but seating is limited and fills quickly. Call 888-608-5825 to reserve your seats today. There is no cost and no obligation. Don't miss this important live event. Educated financial decisions. Call 888-608-5825 today.
Boy, Larry, that was an interesting tax conversation. If anybody can make taxes, interesting, I think you can here. With the chalk talk here that Larry just did, it's really interesting. A lot of people focus so much on when to take Social Security, more from a dollar per dollar perspective. And what's the biggest benefit? How can I maximize my Social Security? But oftentimes those discussions fail to talk about the taxes because that's a significant, as you've seen in that last chalk talk that Larry did, there's a significant savings there to different strategies. And I think that's critical. And in the earlier part of the show, we talked about tax planning. We know here at Centennial Wealth Advisory, when we do tax planning, we want to have a holistic approach to that. Not only just looking at investments and when to take stuff, but Social Security. That plays a huge role in how your longevity of your plan and how much may be left in your pocket versus the IRS over time.
Yeah, Art, I love that. And another thing that we want to talk about is maybe delaying that Social Security. Sometimes there's benefits to delay taking that Social Security income. One of the reasons you might want to delay taking that Social Security income is for your health insurance reasons. When you enter into the marketplace when you're not 65 yet and you're still needing traditional health care, you're looking at the marketplace. Sometimes to keep your income lower is going to give you more tax subsidies when it comes to that health insurance piece. So that's another thing to really take into account.
Yeah, if anything, there are so many different considerations when it comes down to whether or not to take Social Security early or not. And it's something that you, if you want to know, should be maybe giving us a call. We'd be glad to sit down with you, look at your circumstances, your situation, and see if taking Social Security early or maybe waiting is best for you. So encourage you to give us a call. We hope you found this show valuable. See you again.